Leominster City Council Meeting is funded in part by DeCarolis Insurance Agency at www.decarolisinsuranceagency.com and by Avidia Bank at www.avidiabank.com.
This is the interview scheduled this September 26, 2022. This is the interview scheduled for 6:45. I'll just read it in. Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests the appointment of the following individuals to the Office of Emergency Management. In the Communications Unit, we have Ronald Gerard of Adams Street in Leominster. And joining Mr. Gerard this evening is our Director, Arthur Epthal. Yes, no?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
We also have an interview scheduled for the Department of Emergency Operations, Shen Bergeron, which I understand is going to need to be rescheduled.
Yes, ma'am. To 2 weeks from today, if that's permissible.
Okay. We'll take care of scheduling that later, but Mr. Gerard is here.
Yes.
So, Mr. Gerard, I want to welcome you.
Well, thank you.
I think most of us on the council know Mr. Gerard, and most of us in the city of Leominster know Mr. Gerard because he's at every event, and he's always got his camera out and his video cameras. And I have enjoyed watching your journey in the past year.
Okay.
And congratulations to you. You look phenomenal.
Thank you. I feel terrific. I got a new lease on life. So you have my resume if you guys need it that Arthur printed out for me. I'm very blessed to be here tonight, and thank you for having me and Arthur tonight. And I've got my supporting cast behind me over here. And it's been a real pleasure doing the volunteer work for the city of Leominster. Most of you know, those of you who might not know me, I'm Ron Gerard, born and raised in Leominster. Very passionate about my work. I volunteer at the Historical Society when I can. I'm a member of the Leominster Historical Commission. I'm a member of our local access station, Leominster TV Access, and I'm a photographer, journalism. I write stories. I tell stories through my video, through my photography, and I enjoy documenting our beautiful city. And Saturday was a perfect example. My friend Dominic Ciccone and I were down there filming Saturday, the Johnny Appleseed event for 8 hours, 9 hours, actually 10 hours because we were there early. And then Sunday all day, edited video, turned it into the studio. And, I just enjoy what I do. I'm very passionate about what I do. And I enjoy talking to people. And I enjoy going out there and having fun. And, life's too short today. You got to go and have fun every day. And why not have fun enjoying what you're doing?
Thank you. Mr. Epthal, while you're here, perhaps you can give us a little update on the Department of Emergency Management over there and what you expect to have Mr. Gerard do for us.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I would love to. Mr. Gerard is, he's actually being very bashful. He has a number of passions. One is Leominster, and one is filming and television, and local television, local stories, local interest stories, and so forth. This coincides with a need that we have and an area that we want to go in Leominster Emergency Management. We started a informational and educational program. We call it Leominster Lifesavers Program. And what Leominster Lifesavers consists of is short classes, free, open to the public, on things like first aid, preparing for a storm like a windstorm or a hurricane or a tornado, how to hook up a generator to your house, how to evaluate your house, if you can hook up a generator or if you need some electrical modifications, how to deal with a kitchen fire, immediate steps to take in case of kitchen burns, things like this. These classes are designed to be about 30 to 45 minutes, not long, and taught by qualified people. One of our members here, Laurel AAC, taught the inaugural class, and it was a 40-minute class on render aid to a choking victim. And it was taught from the point of view of an ordinary person, meaning not a registered nurse, not a medical doctor or a physician, for example, but if someone next to me starts to choke, what practical steps can I take to save their life in addition to calling 911? So again, this is Leominster Lifesavers, and we're doing these classes in person down at Emergency Management, but we also want to get into hanging these classes on YouTube. And this is our guy. He's going to film them for us. He's going to connect the video and audio. Ron Gerard also has experience with, I believe you operate your own YouTube channel.
Yeah, can I tell what it is?
Sure.
Yeah, Loving Keto, Ron's weight loss journey. So I document my journey over 110 weeks. When I started out at 340 pounds, and now I'm down to 210. And I've been documenting my video, my story, my life story, and my weight story, and what I eat, and all that good stuff, and my adventures. And my goal is not about me, really. It's about getting people healthy, because you have to be healthy today in order to be able to, it's just my feeling is you have to be healthy out there, and I'm just trying to inspire as many people as I can to get healthy.
With this in mind, if we can then film these and record them, and again, hang them on YouTube, we'll be able to call up these classes, or anyone at home can call up the class and say, here's a quick class on rendering aid to a choking victim, or, how to deal with a kitchen fire, and so forth. Something to add, that our instructors, they're all qualified people. So our instructor who's teaching the class on kitchen fires is a retired firefighter, retired as a captain, and was a firefighter for about 22 years. So in other words, they're subject matter experts in what they're teaching, but it's practical knowledge that we can put out with a minimal of financial backing. I mean, we have actually all the technology, all the equipment in the emergency management building already. This is no new investment in money or anything. It's just really getting the expertise and teaching the classes. And then they're out there where people can call up anytime, anywhere, really.
Yeah, and all this, and how all this evolved was, one day I was filming on the mayor's show. I filmed behind the camera, and Arthur happened to be a guest that night. And then I approached Arthur, and I said, Arthur, I remember I asked you how would you like me to go in and film? Somebody should be filming their training exercises, or when you do CPR, simple little things like that. And that's how this all came about. And then some of his fantastic crew that he has over there, over the course of this past few months, they've been recruiting me to become a member over there. So I finally came to terms with it. I want to be a member, and I want to be able to help out the city in that way and go a little bit further than when I've been able to go. Yeah.
We're not shipping them overseas. We're keeping them right here.
No, we look forward to your cooperation on this project. It sounds fascinating. I'm going to open it up to, first of all, members of the Ways and Means Committee, if they have any other specific questions. So to the clerk, Councilor Ardinger.
Thank you very much. I would have to say that I really appreciate what Arthur has done over there with the OEM so far. It's often an overlooked department, and it's run mostly by volunteers, so you guys do a great job. And Mr. Gerard, it's well known, how much time you give to the city of Leominster, and that is, pure dedication from your part. I just don't know how you find the time to do it all.
Well, it's a passion. I just enjoy our city so much, and the people here are so friendly. I talked to Officer Lee Saturday, and I'm looking at this huge, humongous crowd down there. You couldn't even walk. It was wall-to-wall people literally Saturday at the JA Festival. But as packed as it was, I told Officer Lee, you got to admire the people in Leominster, how well-behaved we are. You know, if people were friendly, they were coming up to me, they wanted to grab a photograph with me, they wanted me to grab their photograph, you know, just to be part of the history. And I enjoy that so much.
I just want to say thank you very much for your dedication to the city of Leominster. I think we all know your qualifications as a videographer, so we don't have to
Right.
dig into your background so much, okay?
Well, thank you. When I'm most proud of myself is I'm self-taught. The person that taught me was me.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Councilor Deacon?
Thank you. Well, you certainly have hit the ground running. And the adjustments you have made just in a short period of time over at the agency, although it was well-run. New ideas, some new vision,
Right, exactly.
and I think you're going to be a wonderful addition over there and assisting them, and I'll fully support this.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate all the support we can get.
Good luck to you. Thank you.
Councilor Shalfo Zephyr?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I have a couple of questions for
Sure.
Mr. Abthal. The classes that you were talking about, are those open to the public?
Yes.
The general public?
Yes, they're free and open to the public, and there's no lengthy registration period. It literally is just coming down and saying we're here for the class.
Okay. How are those publicized? I'm just curious. Are they on the city's website, or do you get them, the news out? How do you get the news out about them?
No, but they're going to be. They're going to
Okay.
be on both our Facebook, they're not currently, and on our part of the website with the city. So we will be pushing them out, but by every means that we have available, including social media.
Excellent. And I would imagine they're no cost? Are they no cost?
Yes, ma'am, they're free
Okay.
and completely free.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I think that's a huge, wonderful resource for people in the city. I think that's great.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. Ronnie, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you
You're going to
for-
be,
thank
this
you.
sounds like the perfect fit, the perfect match.
Well, it is.
Right, of your skills and
Because I was
passion.
talking to Arthur a little while back ago, you know, I have a lot of great ideas that I can help the emergency management center out and get the word out to the people. Like when we have local events where they go out, like Valerie got a hold of me a while back ago. She said, Ron, I could have used you up in Ashburnham because they don't just cover Leominster. And all you have to do is call me. I'm available. I'll go down and stop what I'm doing and help you guys out, you know. I want to take everything in baby steps as I go along and just learn what we need to learn slow. It's going to be a slow process.
Yeah, it's a win-win. I mean, you'll educate them, they'll educate you
Yeah,
about the
exactly.
operation.
It'll
so-
be like a dream team.
Yeah, excellent. Well, thank you both for coming down, and thank you
Thank you, Sue.
for stepping up.
Any other members of the council? Councilor Frida?
Does this mean we're going to officially have to call you the mayor of French Hill?
Yeah.
And we did for
Yeah,
years
I
and
think
years.
there's only one person popular than I am, is the mayor.
I specified French Hill, though.
Okay, yeah, exactly, yeah. I went walking down there the other day, did 5 miles of walking and walked all the way down to 12th Street and back from my house, yeah. Taking photography of French Hill and the memories that it spawned as growing up on French Hill was up when I was a kid growing up. It was nice going back to the old neighborhood, you know, and just taking my time of walking and you're by yourself getting fresh air and, you know, because the cars tooting by me and they all stop and say hi and it's been a good experience.
Well, if you help the emergency management half as much as you've helped LATV and some of the other things you've done in the city, it's going to be a lot.
Well, thank you.
I don't
I
know where you're going to
appreciate
get the
that.
extra time, but
Well, that's my other half stays home and sleep, and my other half will go there. I'll split my body up, you know.
thanks for
Okay,
offering your
Thank you,
time.
Claire, Frida. Appreciate that, too.
Councilor Cormier?
Thank you.
Sorry,
Thank you very much. No, I just want to say, I don't have any questions, but I just want to say that, you know, there's a lot of good stuff going on down at Emergency Management. I had the pleasure of going down there a month or two ago, seeing some of their operations when they had people in doing a mock school situation. You know, so this is just another extension of the good work that they're doing to, you know, get people educated on all sorts of things, whether it's public safety personnel or the public themselves. And I know, Ron, you'll do a wonderful job. I've enjoyed following you and watching you on Facebook every day. There's something new that you're doing, and we appreciate it very much. And I'm sure that once this project really gets off the ground, I'm sure I'll be seeing it on Facebook, so I look forward
Well,
to it.
thank you, and I
You'll
enjoyed
do
that
well.
photograph you guys took of me with Santa there Saturday.
Yes, I was the elf, yeah.
Yeah.
It's been all over the city, I hear, yeah. It was a good day, it was fun, and it was
Yeah,
for a good
a little
cause.
cold in the morning, but it warmed up.
Yeah, yeah.
At least we didn't have to worry about the apple crisp ice cream melting that day.
Not that day, no, it was beautiful, it was a perfect day. So thank you again,
Thank-
Ron, for
thank you.
volunteering, thanks.
Counselor Angelini?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Gentlemen, good evening. Ron, I obviously want to thank you for volunteering, and want to recognize what a wonderful job that the director's done as well in his transition into his position. It was a pleasure being your guest at the hazard mitigation, several of those meetings, and it's a wonderful facility with wonderful folks and wonderful leadership. And clearly in the city, we have a wonderful story to tell. And the more venues that we can get that story out, the better off it is.
Yeah, there's so much rich history in there. You can ask Mr. Bedanza, he's a marvelous storyteller in his history books, and yeah, it's everybody's been wonderful to me. And in addition to all this, I also volunteer at the parish on Friday nights, helping the St. Cecilia's parish out. So I'm there for those times, and I just enjoy I'm just enjoying life every day.
Well, you're at every venue, every function that I'm at, so.
Yeah.
But it's amazing, so thank you, gentlemen, both for your
Okay, thank you.
dedication to the
Thank you,
city. We
Peter.
appreciate it very much, and I think we all recognize it.
Madam Chairwoman,
Thank you.
sorry about that. I'm just going to stop you right there. We're going to return to this in a moment. It's just the time is 7 o'clock, so I'm required to open the meeting, and then we'll do some very quick business. We'll recess and come back to you. So I, at this time, like to call the meeting for the Leominster City Council for September 26, 2022 to order. Please stand and join me for a salute to the flag.
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm now going to take a roll call of the honorable members of the Leominster City Council, beginning with Councilor Bedanza.
Present?
Councilor Cormier.
Present.
Councilor Ardinger.
Present.
Councilor Angelini.
Present.
Councilor Brady.
Present.
Councilor Shalfo Zephyr.
Present.
Councilor Deacon.
Present.
Councilor Frida.
Present.
And I am also present. All 9 members are present. Madam Vice President, do you have any records to approve this evening?
Mr. President, I have, and I just want to check with members of the council that if you've had the opportunity to review the minutes from August 22nd, 2022. I know we postponed that the last time. I have reviewed them, and if there aren't any corrections or anyone needs any comments on those minutes, I find them to be in good standing, and I'd ask that they be placed on file.
Okay. Anybody have any questions or comments on those? If not, they will be placed on file. At this time, I'd ask for, entertain a motion for
So moved.
a recess. I'm sorry?
September 12th meeting.
Oh, September 12th
Yes,
as well?
I'm sorry, I would have
Oh, I thought you
taken
were
them.
doing both.
I was going to, except that we had had an issue on the last one with the August 22nd minutes.
You can proceed with,
Again, I reviewed the minutes from September 12th, 2022, and unless anyone has any corrections, I find them to be good in, Counselor Shalfo Zephyr.
Yeah, thank you very much. On page 5, under legal affairs, it talks about the council went into, we recessed. And the reason, it's not clear why we did recess, but we recessed so that the fire department chief, along with the deputy chief and the new emergency management, not emergency technician, could join us to explain the following 3 petitions. So I think it would help if we said we went into executive session, not executive session, excuse me, I mean into recess, so that we could allow the fire department to explain the following 3 petitions. I just was confused when I saw that. I was racking my brain thinking, what was that about? And it was about those.
No problem.
okay? So we'll
We can
just
make that change? Yep.
Make that
If
clarity.
there's any other comments, any other corrections, then, Mr. President, with that being addressed by the city clerk, I would suggest that we could file the minutes for the September 12th, 2022 meeting as well.
Okay, does anybody have any other questions or comments on those? If not, they will be placed on file. Now I will entertain a motion for a recess. Councilor Bedanza, seconded by Councilor Shalfo-Zephyr. All those in favor of going into recess signify in the usual manner. Those opposed by a vote of 9-0. We are now in recess. Madam Chairwoman of Ways and Means, you may proceed with the interview.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I believe Councilor Danza, you had a question or statement?
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Director Abfall, I just want to applaud you for this program. This is really something that's proactive and is really going to be a great benefit to the community. I think it's such a wonderful idea. Thank you for bringing this forward. And it's a perfect marriage with Ron's talents. I'm sure Ron's going to do a great job. He's well suited to this. And they say if you want something done, ask a busy person to do it. And Ron certainly qualifies as a busy person. So thank you, Ron.
Thank you, and I appreciate that, Mark.
Yeah, thank you for volunteering your efforts.
Thank you.
Much appreciated.
Anyone else? Well, again, gentlemen, thank you so much. It was very informative. Ron, I don't think there's going to be any issue with your vote tonight. And if you want to stay for a few minutes, I will be requesting, I'll make a request with the president to bump up
Sure.
this on the agenda a little bit. So thank you again, both,
Okay.
for coming
Well,
in.
thank you again for having us.
I just wanted to add, if I could, that we have 5 more people that are interested in joining, and so I'll be working with the city clerk's office and hope to have these scheduled over the next couple of meetings. But 5 more should be coming in for your consideration.
Excellent. Excellent. That's always good news.
Thank you.
Thank you both.
Try to get up and vote.
Mr. President, I don't know if it's appropriate, so at this time, we're going to need to reschedule the interview with Shen Bergeron. Is
Okay.
that something that we can do now?
Have you spoken to her, Madam Clerk?
The director asked for 2 weeks, so he must have.
Okay.
Yeah, I've discussed it with the director and Shen, and they're agreeable to 10/11/2022 at 6:40 PM.
And just so everybody knows, that's a Tuesday because that Monday is a holiday, so that'll be, the next meeting is going to be on a Tuesday, October 11th. Okay. All right, so now we have a 6:50 PM, well, what was supposed to be a 6:50 PM hearing on 5-23 for legal affairs. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a public hearing of the Legal Affairs Committee. My name is Peter Angelini, Chairman. I'm joined by the other 2 members of Legal Affairs, Councilor Mark Bedanza and Councilor Pauline Cormier. 5-23 is David Cormier, Ward 3 Counselor, and Pauline Cormier, Ward 2 Counselor, request to amend Chapter 13, Section 13-29 of the revised ordinances entitled Handicap Parking Spaces and add the following. 2 reserved spaces on Summer Street closest to the entrance to Carter Park, opposite 60 Summer Street. Excuse me. We have a referral, we asked for referrals from the mayor's office and Leominster Police Traffic Division. So I'd like to read into the record, if I could. This is from Sergeant Robichaud, and he addressed it to the chief, Chief Kennedy. Chief, I am in favor, I'm sorry, let me give you the date first. This was written Tuesday, September 13th. Chief, I am in favor of adding 2 designated handicap accessible parking spots in the Summer Street area adjacent to the park. I am unsure which parking spots they wish to be designated. The first option I've identified are the circled areas marked 1. These are both adjacent to the paved walkway that leads to the gazebo in the park. The second option are circled areas marked as 2 on the photo. These appear to be adjacent, thank you. These appear to be adjacent to the walking path that goes through the park. They are also directly across from 60 Summer Street. Either option appears viable, but I'll have to take a look at the site to see which is preferable before I make my recommendation. Any further clarification would be appreciated. So that's from the Leominster Police Traffic Division. The mayor's office, I spoke to, their comment was for us to basically keep in mind that at some point in the future, the extension of the rail trail will be somewhere in that area. It may actually be beneficial because when the rail trail is brought to that part of Summer Street, to the park, we're going to need to have handicap access associated with the rail trail. So it could work, it could be very beneficial. So at this point, before I go much further, I'd like to, if I may, without objection, ask the petitioner well, one of the two petitioners, let me start with Councilor Pauline Cormier, and perhaps she's reviewed the photograph provided by Sergeant Robichaud, and you could perhaps determine which one of those two options would be best for you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have reviewed the photos, and I would agree that I think either one of the two options would be better, obviously, than not having any that are over there available now, with the possibility of perhaps one directly at the walking path and then another additional one or two further down the street towards that corner, right across from 60 Summer. And I understand that the rail trail is going to go through, but between now and then, we have a lot of events over there. We have the bands in the park, and now there is no handicapped access. There was one where people were actually coming in the back and parking over on the grass that has been, that they've been asked to not to do it anymore. There's people that utilize the parking across the street at the St. Leo's Parish, and there are a few spots, but it is quite a way to walk to get into the park where the main events are. So I am willing to look at any places that they can set aside specifically for the handicap parking.
All right. I think Sergeant Robichaud is looking for some direction before he can ultimately provide us with his recommendation how to proceed.
Okay.
So perhaps we can, we'll worry about how we're going to deal with this a little bit later. The other petitioner, if I may, Councilor David Cormier.
Yes, thank you. So I was looking at this map as well. My original thought was the two spots where number 2 is, but I really have no preference as long as there is a couple of handicap spots on that side of the street. The reason why I had looked at number 2 was because it seems like it's closest to the bandstand. You know, I'm seeing a head nod, no.
I was there today.
But, I mean, now when you look at the map, it's probably about the same distance, really. I mean, but I don't have any preference as long as there are a couple of spots that are designated handicap because, you know, as Councilor Cormier had said, some of the people that were having issues walking were driving in and parking on the grass in that dirt roadway and were being told that they are not allowed in there. And so any other place that's close by to park would be quite a distance for somebody who's handicapped to walk. So as long as they can park somewhere on that street, on Summer Street, doesn't matter to me. Whatever the police think is safest, I'll yield to their expertise on safety and where they think they should be.
All right, well, let me go to the second member of Legal Affairs, if I may, before I go to the council. Councilor Bedanza?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was actually there today, and number one, that area is, you know, you have to take into account that when most people attend an event that involves the bandstand is oriented facing towards St. Leo's Church typically, which would be west. So most of the people would be on the west side of the gazebo, which makes the number one alternative, in my view, more convenient to people who are parking in a handicap spot, because it's a shorter distance for them from the second, as opposed to the second alternative. That'd be my opinion.
All right, I'll open up to the council. Councilor Shalfo Zephyr.
Thank you very much. So there's a notation near the number 1 entry into the park, and it says Prison Ministries Transitional Assistance. Does anybody know what that is?
I think that's something that shows up when you do a Google Earth photo.
Yeah.
I'm just, okay.
So, I mean, I don't think it was inserted. I mean,
No, I'm just curious, is it a special ramp that somebody put in? I mean, because we have prisoners come to town and do various kinds of outdoor work, so I didn't know if there was a special ramp that was put there, or I just was curious because it just is a notation on the map right near where we want to get into the park. Okay. And then down at number 2, it's not obvious on this map, and I'll go down and take a look, that there is a close break, where the number 1 is, you can see that the fence is open, there's a break in the fence. Down at number 2, I don't see one. It could be obscured by trees, I'm just not sure. So if there's a way to get into the park at number 2, it might be a good idea to have one handicap spot at the number 1 location and one further back, depending on how the people want to, how they're utilizing the entry to the park. Sometimes you do want to get into that back way, and most of the time, we are coming into it from the St. Leo side, but, maybe one in each location might be helpful. I don't know.
Councilor Edinger?
Thank you. When I look at this, there are 2 considerations. Number 1 is the future rail trail and where it'll pass, and number 2 is the ease of accessibility for a handicapped individual. The right-hand side of the number 1 is adjacent to the concrete ramp going to the gazebo. Number 2 is on a dirt path. So with that consideration, I would say that if you choose the right-hand side of number 1, that's that circle, you avoid the dirt path and you avoid the future rail trail. So you're not addressing that in the future. So that would be my suggestion, is that's the one that we should look at.
Okay,
But I certainly will defer to the police department.
fair enough. Any other councilors? Let me go to the public. Is there anyone this evening in attendance that would like to speak in favor of or in opposition to?
Yeah, I am right here.
Be my guest.
Over to the mic.
Up to the podium,
Please.
yes.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Dean Carlson. I'm the co-chair with Marty Turbide of the Leominster Disability Commission. And what brought all of this up about parking, my wife and I love to go to the Colonial Band. It's a beautiful, beautiful park with the veterans in it and so on and so forth. We couldn't find a place to park for one of the band things, and we pulled into the little dirt area that's there. Hung up the handicap placard. I've been an amputee for 20 years now, so I do understand handicap rules. So we backed the car in. We wanted to open all the windows. It was a hot evening. Sit in the car and listen to the band. John, the band manager, came over and said, "I'm going to have to ask you to leave. You can't park here in this private area." I says, "Well, okay, where do I park?" There isn't any place to park. And it seems so a shame that a beautiful, beautiful park like Carter Park, to me, it needs to be addressed. David Cormier is on the commission also. I brought it to one of our last meetings, and he was absolutely pissed. And when the meeting was done over at the library, he immediately went over to see what was going on. So I did want to just bring that to everyone's attention.
it's a veteran park, and so many people are disabled and so forth and need the handicap parking. That's all. Thank you. Any questions at all, or no? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carlson.
Yep.
Hi, good evening, councilors. I'm John DeChico, 193 North Main Street in Leominster. And as Mr. Carlson alluded to, unfortunately, I was the bad guy that night. I am the manager of the Colonial Band, and I started this journey about getting handicap parking spots reinstituted at Carter Park back in April. I actually didn't know where the park fell as far as jurisdictions of wards, and so I called Councilor Frieder, the councilor at large, and asked her, and she suggested I contact Councilor Cormier, Pauline Cormier, Ward 2, because it is her ward. And that's where we started the journey. This is April 8th, actually. And Councilor Cormier, to her credit, immediately arranged a meeting, and we both went down to Carter Park on the Summer Street side. And I pointed out to her that it was quite obvious, because I've lived here my whole life, and I've performed in that park now for almost 45 years. And I know that there were previously 4 parking spots on Summer Street designated as handicap. In fact, the markings for those parking spots, the X's in the area, and the curb cuts for handicap accessibility are still there. And for some unknown reason, probably it's been almost 10 years now, those signs disappeared and they went to regular parking spots. There's presently 13 parking spots on that Summer Street side, and there's approximately 30 parking spots on the Main Street side that abuts the park. With that number of parking spots and 0 handicap accessibility, I don't know all the ADA laws. We've got people here tonight, obviously, that do, but I feel that, one, we're not in compliance by any stretch of the imagination, and I would respectfully request, if it's possible, that you consider at least putting back 4 spaces. 2 spaces is not adequate for the size of that park. When you consider the size of the events that are held there now, the park is very much utilized, a lot more than it was 20 years ago. And as Mr. Carlson pointed out, we have a major installation of veterans monuments there. So now our Veterans Day services are held there. Memorial Day services are held there in some cases as well. And let's be honest, unfortunately, many of our veterans of the city are in the disabled category, and they need access to that park. And I believe strongly that we have dropped the ball on this issue, and it's not about our concerts, it's about accessibility. This is a city park. To me, it's the crown jewel. This is the entrance to our community. Both from a historical perspective and from a functional perspective, we need to right this wrong, and it needs to be done sooner rather than later. It is not the city's responsibility to offer essentially off-street parking for the neighborhood that's there, where most of those are apartments. And if you go there any day or night, you will note that the majority of the people that are parking on those Summer Street spots are all residents across the street. Well, it behooves the people who own those properties to either provide parking, off-street parking for their tenants, or find an alternative for them. But it should not come at the cost of these folks who are disabled and not have disability accessibility at a park that is city property. And we cannot rely on St. Leo's parking lot across the street. That's private property. And at any given time, the parish could decide, sorry, folks, we're not going to allow any city parking for events over there, because they're assuming a great liability, let's be honest. We all know what liability insurance is like. So, the city needs to be in a position to protect its investment, protect its citizens and its residents, and make sure that we have viable spaces and accessibility, most importantly, so that we're not out of compliance when it comes to these folks and their accessibility to our beautiful park at Carter Park. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. DeChico. Is there anyone else in attendance this evening that would like to speak in favor of or in opposition to petition 5-23?
Hi, my name is Gail Turbide, and I'm on the Disability Commission as well. And I just want to add, when you're talking about the number of parking places, that you do have to have van accessible parking space as well as regular handicap spots. So when whoever is calculating the number of spots, I agree there should be 4, but when the city requirements or the ADA requirement says there has to be so many, that's the minimum. You can always put more than what the minimum suggests or allows. So if the, city or the Veterans Association or the council feels like maybe we should have 6 handicap spots and 1 van accessible or whatever, just to let you know, you can always add more to what is the minimum requirement, for handicap parking. And I spoke to Rick Vautour about the Veterans Park, and he said he was in full support of the adding handicap spaces at Carter Park, and if anybody wanted to follow up with him, that, anybody is free to call him, and he'll discuss it further with any of the members of the council or whoever is going to make all of this decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Turbide. Is there anyone else in the audience this evening who would like to speak in favor of or in opposition to petition 5-23? For the second time, is there anyone in attendance this evening that would like to speak in favor of or in opposition to petition 5-23? And for the third and final time, is there anyone in attendance this evening that would like to speak in favor of or in opposition to petition 5-23? Councilor Frida.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As John mentioned, when we talked back in April, we talked about the 4 spaces that were there originally, and many of us can remember those 4 spaces, and there's still some hint of the 4 that were there. It's only gotten busier since those 4 were in years ago, and I certainly think, I'm not sure where the petition got in with 2, but I think we should amend it to 4 and start with that and then see what happens from there. I have been driving veterans and Gold Star wives and mothers for years, going back with Helen Hill, May Tabora, every Veterans Day, every Memorial Day, driving them to the gazebo because none of them are capable of walking it. And this isn't even going to help them get there. There's still going to have to be that ride to the gazebo for most of the veterans who can't navigate that. So I think the woman that spoke was correct, and we have the ability to do the minimum. Let's start with that and see what 4 does. And then if we think we want 6, we shouldn't be making spaces for people who live in those apartment houses. We want to promote Carter Park. We want to promote the activities there. We should be looking at making it accessible for everybody. So my suggestion will be that we amend it to 4, because I think that's where we should start.
Thank you, Councilor Frida. I'll get to you right away, Councilor Brady. I think Councilor Cormier had his hand up as well.
Thank you very much. I petitioned, Councilor Cormier and I petitioned just to get the conversation started. I agree there should be more as well, and I just wanted to see what the police department had to say and what the input was as well. And, to the point of the 4 spaces that were there years ago, I did look in the ordinance book, as I always do, before I file a petition, because sometimes, there's something that's petitioned and it is an ordinance, but the signs, disappeared, or who knows what, happened over the years. And maybe it was just a matter of we just need to paint the spots again and put the signs back up, and we didn't need to have this whole, filing a petition and a public hearing and a whole bit. Maybe we just need to have the DPW go put signs back up. That's not the case. So those 4 spots were never, I don't want to say they were never legal, but they certainly were not an ordinance of the city of Leominster whenever they were there. So this will, if it does pass, this will be the law. Whatever we pass will be the law, that there will have to be X number of spaces on that street as we designate by ordinance, so, thank you.
Councilor Brady.
Thank you for clarifying that. That was going to be my point. But another quick question, just if we could ask the Disability Commission for the exact number they need based on the number of people in the park. We might as well do it one time, get it done, make sure we have a van accessible spot, and do it fairly quickly. I think we can do that.
Councilor Ardner.
I think I agree with the two councilors that, and the president. This has opened up a conversation that, you don't really do, we never really thought about. It just was one of those things there. But getting the proper spot for a van accessible parking spot there could be difficult. I'm not sure, but again, to the councilor across from me, getting the disability involved in a discussion with this and coming up with one final solution that's the best solution for everybody, looking at the four that were there, see if they're the best spots. But I think this is just the beginning of this discussion, not the end tonight.
I agree.
Okay.
May I offer a suggestion? I'm sorry,
No, no.
May I offer a suggestion to the petitioners? Would you be amenable to perhaps giving this further time, in the interim, meeting with Sergeant Robichaud on site, perhaps a member of the Disability Commission as well, and reporting back, because I think we've identified a number of issues. Several councilors, I wasn't keeping precise score, but several councilors see the different access points as being more viable. I think they all have merit. I would agree with the at-large councilor's point, that people, for her experience, that people do struggle to get in there, and that's a shame. So I think Sergeant Robichaud was somebody that would be more than happy to work with the council, and so we could arrive at a solution rather quickly that's viable, and maybe it becomes more than what was initially planned. We do know that for these handicap accessible spots, you do need some infrastructure in place. So we can probably get, some accessibility immediately, and then the van accessibility may take a little bit longer for the infrastructure to be in place. But that's what I would recommend. I think I'll try to proffer for the petitioners to consider. And I noticed Councilor Frieda's hands up. Councilor Frieda.
Just to clarify, I don't see why it would be a problem with the 4, visibility or otherwise. I mean, the police department identified either 2 in the number 1 part of it, or 2 in the other. So if 2 are okay in 1 and 2 are okay in 2, then 4 should be okay in 1 and 2.
I don't disagree.
So I think, I don't see a problem with 4. I don't think it's a visibility issue. I think it should be fine.
All right, Councilor Cormier.
Thank you. Just adding to what Councilor Frieda stated, and I agree with you, from being over in that area where it's marked with the number 2, that's that dirt area that people tend to pull in to park there. So I don't know if that can actually be turned into a parking spot, because I don't know if that's maintenance access there or if it's an emergency vehicle access there. And that's my only point. I would love to see the 4, but I think that we may need more time to go over there and actually see if they can go in that spot, because I don't know what that access road between there's the cement fencing, the gates there. So I don't know if that's an access road for maintenance or if that's an access road for emergency vehicles. I think it does have to stay open. But if that's the case, then they could put one of the 2 in front of the other one. Okay. I mean, there's enough parking spaces there to do 4. Okay.
No,
I agree. But just in thinking of that corner right there, when you visualize it, it's that dirt area that I'm guessing it's going to have to stay open. So I'd just be afraid if there was an emergency while at the park, if an emergency vehicle had to get in, if someone parked right at that access. So I agree. that we should probably get over there and get over there with the Disability Commission, the police department, and the people that are actually going to do the work so we can see what's feasible and
Yeah,
not.
I was going to say, perhaps, I know the mayor's office is on board with this, so perhaps you can invite a member, Ray Racine, or one of the folks from DPW who may be called upon to do the work and have done it in the past, and maybe able to expedite this a little bit too. So that would be my suggestion. Councilor Odinger.
Yeah, my concern with the number 2 spot, and I've said this before, is that's a dirt road. And getting a wheelchair up there or a walker up there is very problematic. So I would seriously consider that when you look at that dirt road and see if that makes sense for a handicap accessible space. That's it.
Okay, very good. Councilor Quigley?
I have to go back there and check. I know that it's a dirt road, but I believe there is a concrete path, though, that is to the left of the dirt road that you can go on concrete from the sidewalk directly onto concrete and follow a concrete path all the way down to the back of the bandstand and where we go down and meet at Memorial Circle on Memorial Day. So I think I have to go back and check.
I think it's all bricks.
It's brick.
Yeah.
I think it's the brick.
There might be a strip and then bricks on the side. I can't remember. Is it all brick? And I don't know how level the bricks are. So if you have a wheelchair, but
That's the, excuse me, sorry. That's the memorial bricks that you're talking about. They're only about, what, 3 feet wide?
yeah, but I think they have a
Okay,
concrete.
I mean, it's worth, you know,
concrete.
we should go look at it, is what it boils down to,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Sorry.
I apologize, I know you're not in, public, but that sidewalk runs from Summer Street, the entrance to Summer Street, through the entire
Yeah.
park, all the way to Main Street.
Yeah.
And it
Okay.
comes out right onto Main Street where the,
John, can you use the microphone?
yes.
There is a secondary sidewalk that runs the entire length of the back of the park. So, yes, the bricks are on both sides of the sidewalks. They were joining the sidewalk, but there's a full-width sidewalk that runs the entire length of the park. In fact, the city, probably 7 or 8 years ago, installed lighting the entire path. So that path is lit all at night, every night. So there's a concrete walkway that goes the entire distance, right across the park, just so you know.
To the west side of the
Yes.
dirt
Well,
road.
there's
Right.
presently, there's really not a road there. That is just, it's not a grass plot anymore because it's been run over so many times by city vehicles. And yes, the city does use that for access to go in and water the plants and do the tree trimming and the lighting and everything else. So that, they use the back area and they run along the fence line that abuts the park. So that is an access point. But it is a full sidewalk all the way through.
Thank you, John. Anyone else? All right. Well, I think this is extremely productive, and I'm going to defer one last time to the petitioner and see if you can tell us, sort of cobble together everything that's going to be included in your assignment that you just volunteered for.
I would defer to my co-petitioner, but no, I think we made good headway tonight. We got great suggestions, so I would suggest perhaps we can schedule a meeting time with everyone there and get a true, if we're going to do this, let's do it right the first time. I don't want to piecemeal it. Obviously, so we're coming to the end of our season. We're at the end of the band season. We're coming to the end of the season, so it's not likely that anything would get done this season. But I think if we can have all our ducks in a row come springtime, let's do this once. Let's do it right. So if we need more time on this, I'm all for granting it more time.
Okay, fine. I think Councilor Porter.
And I agree. Even if we passed something tonight, to get things moving into a first reading and then make amendments or whatever, even if we streamline this, it's not going to be law until December anyway, because of the way, an ordinance works. It's got to have got to pass it tonight, then it's going to come back in ordinance form. We don't even know if KP Law is going to have it back to us by the next meeting. So if not, then that's another meeting gone. So, but even if they do have it back to us at the next meeting, that's the first reading. Then you get the second reading, the last meeting in October, and then 21 days after that, it's law. So you're looking at, the soonest this could be law would be Thanksgiving, and by then, there's no more, it's after Veterans Day, it's after all the band concerts are done. So making this move fast is just gonna, potentially make us have to amend this and spend more money and more time if there's things that, we don't do because we're hastily doing it tonight. So I want to get everybody together, get our ducks in a row. I enjoy all the input that's been, brought into us tonight. The van idea that could be some infrastructure. You might have to cut into the sidewalk and have a place for a van to go park, because you can't dump people off in the middle of the road when there's cars passing by. So you could be talking thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of infrastructure improvements, which, if it's got to be done, it's got to be done. But we want to find all this out before we, and make sure that we're having these in the safest place to have a van pull in. So there's more work to be done, but I'm glad that we got the conversation started.
So what I'm hearing, I think, is that you'd like to see this public hearing closed this evening.
No, continued.
All right.
Continued.
Well, that's what I was thinking, but when you said you wanted to see this passed,
No.
I thought you meant voted on tonight.
No, I want to see it passed right once by not voting on something tonight. Just let's get all our ducks in a row and meet with everyone, and then come up with a final thing, and then get that passed.
I do agree with you. I think if we have this in place, if and when a decision is made with the rail trail section that will extend over Carter Park, other funding sources will be available. We can perhaps wrap some of this into that as
Right.
required. So it may work just fine that way. So I thank everyone for their participation. I thank everyone who weighed in the public forum on this. And at this time, I just keep the public hearing open. And thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. When will this be back? Madam Clerk?
Would you like it on the next agenda, or would you like to push it out further than that?
I think we go for the next agenda, and that'll give us, is that okay with you, Petitioner? Give us a couple weeks?
That's fine.
So just so everybody who's here knows, that would be Tuesday, October 11th, and it would be at 6:35 PM is the next available opening for a public hearing.
6:35? All right.
All right, C-13, we have a public hearing, Mr. Chairman of Legal Affairs.
Just to interrupt, thank you all very, very, very much.
You're welcome.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. C-13, Dean Mazzarella, Mayor, requests that the City Council adopt the attached ordinance updates. This ordinance update to Chapter 16, Personnel, Section 16-30 of the Leominster Revised Ordinances reflects: Number 1, Leominster Fire Department salary and wage adjustments for fiscal year 2022 through fiscal year 2024. Number 2, Leominster Police Department salary and wage adjustments for fiscal year 2022 through fiscal year 2024. Number 3, Dispatch salary and wage adjustments for the fiscal year 2022 through fiscal year 2024. Number 4, Department of Public Works salary and wage adjustments for the fiscal year 2002, fiscal year 2024. As you recall, at our last meeting, we amended this petition because inadvertently the mayor's office sent it down here without item number 4 that included the DPW salary and wage adjustments. And again, this is a public hearing of legal affairs. I guess I should have mentioned that. These increases were the same across the board. There was a pay scale chart that's available in the clerk's office if anyone would like to review that. And let's see, I have one more thing. I guess that's it. So let me go to other members of legal affairs and go to the second member first, Councilor Bedanza.
I'm in favor of it.
Fair enough. Councilor Pauline Cormier.
I'm in agreement.
All right. Does anyone in the council have anything they'd like to add? Councilor David Cormier.
I just want to make sure that I clearly state that I will be voting on this petition as a whole, but may the record reflect that I am abstaining because I do have an immediate family member in the fire department. I will be abstaining from all the items under number 1, but will be asking that my vote be recorded for the other items when it comes time.
Okay, abstain from item 1. Anyone else in the council? In that case, I will go to the public. Is there anyone in attendance this evening who would like to speak in favor of or in opposition to C-13? For the second time, is there anyone in attendance this evening that would like to speak in behalf of or in opposition to petition C-13? And for the third and final time, is there anyone in attendance this evening who would like to speak in favor of or in opposition to petition C-13? Seeing none, Mr. Chairman, I will declare this public hearing closed.
Thank you very much. Okay, and one last item before we go back into session. We are now going to hold a public forum. The public forum is an opportunity for any member of the audience to speak on a matter specifically listed on the council agenda. Speakers will be asked to come to the microphone and state their formal name and address for the record, along with identifying any specific items they wish to address. Each speaker is respectfully asked to keep their comments within a 2-minute time frame. The council will not be responding or answering any questions. However, at the discretion of the council president, clarification may be given. No one has signed up, so I will ask at this time if there is anybody in the audience that would like to speak at the public forum. Once again, would anybody in the audience like to speak at the public forum? And for the third and final time, would anybody in the audience like to speak at the public forum? Seeing none, I declare the public forum closed. We are now going to be back in session, and we are going to move into communications from the mayor, beginning with C-16. Madam Clerk.
Can we do it? Okay, never mind, I'm sorry.
C-16, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests that an appropriation of $250,000 be made to the Police Department overtime account, the same amount to be transferred from the stabilization fund.
And C-16 is referred to the Chairman of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. President. First time on the calendar, regular course, please.
C-16 has been given regular course. C-17.
C-17, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests that an appropriation of $30,000 be made to the Montechusett Recovery Center, the same amount to be transferred from the opioid settlement fund.
And C-17 is likewise referred to the Chairman of Finance.
Again, first time on the calendar, regular course.
C-17 is given
Mr.
regular.
President?
Yes, Councilor Frieda.
Through the chair to the finance chair, can we find out what we got for an opioid settlement fund?
Sure.
In that fund?
Yep.
For the next meeting?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. C-17 has been given regular course, and we will get that information, Councilor Frieda. Thank you. C-18.
C-18, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests an appropriation of $349,770.80 be made to the Police In-Service Reform Expense Account, the same amount to be transferred from stabilization, regarding additional training needed due to police reform. For in-service overtime, $186,269.04. Instructors overtime, $67,280.64. In-service and accreditation overtime, $52,281.12. Anticipated equipment costs for training, $43,940.
And C-18 is also referred to the Chairman of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. President. Regular course, please.
C-18 has been given regular course. Moving on to appointments.
Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor. May I read these in block, Council President?
You may.
Thank you. Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests the appointment of the following individuals to the Office of Conservation Commission, term to expire 4/15/2025. Josh Bodridge, 10 Tisdale Street, Leominster, Mass. Stephanie Quinlan, 140 Lincoln Street, Leominster, Mass. Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests the appointment of the following individual to the Office of Disability Commission, term to expire 4/15/2025. Noel Balut, I apologize, Noel, if you're watching, Balutis, 161 Spruce Street, Leominster.
Okay, and I just, obviously, I'm on the Disability Commission, so I'm familiar with Noel. This is actually a reappointment. I'm just noticing that now. So if we can just make note that this is a reappointment, I will refer to these appointments to the Chairwoman of Ways and Means.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I'd ask for regular course and schedule interviews with each of the individuals. The requested dates are going to be October 11th, 2022, and I believe the first one would be starting at 6:40 p.m., Madam Clerk?
Yes, that's correct. And I'm going to strike Noel from that because it's a reappointment.
Okay.
So I'll start Josh and Stephanie's interviews at 6:40 instead.
Thank you.
Okay, so those interviews will be set up. Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Moving on to petitions, first time on the calendar, 7-23.
7-23, Joseph A. Quinn, Sealer of Weights and Measures, request to amend the City of Leominster Code of Ordinances, Chapter 2, by updating the content of Article X, Inspector of Weights and Measures. This request includes updating the ordinance and the fee schedule. A recommended ordinance and fee schedule has been approved by the mayor and has been submitted to the City Council. The reason for this petition is that the current ordinance is outdated and needs to be updated. The current ordinance was last updated with significant changes in 1960. The fee schedule has had minor changes periodically over the years.
And this item will be referred to the Chairman of Legal Affairs.
Thank you, Mr. President. First time on the calendar, regular course, and could we have ask for a referral from the Health Department on this? And I notice we have a public hearing scheduled for October 11th at 6:45.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do we have a vote for that?
Yes, so we're going to, at this point, this has been given regular course. Oh, Councilor Shalfo Zephyr.
Through the chair to the Legal Affairs Chair, can that also be referred to Copeland and Page? Should we do that now?
Sure. I have no objection.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so 7-23 has been given regular course, and we do need to take with a referral to Health Department, and we do need to take a vote to establish a public hearing for October 11th, 2022 at 6:45 p.m. All those in favor of establishing that public hearing signify in usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, that public hearing has been established. Moving on to 8-23, Madam Clerk.
8-23, request to sign the election order for the November 8th, 22 state election.
And this item will be referred to the Chairwoman of Ways and Means.
Thank you, Mr. President. Regular course?
8-23 has been given regular course. Moving on to 9-23.
9-23, Elizabeth Wood, Planning Director, on behalf of the Planning Board, request to amend the zoning ordinance pertaining to lot size requirements for a lot division in the residential A zone for lot sized a minimum of 37,780 square feet.
And this item is referred to the Chairman of Legal Affairs.
Thank you, Mr. President. First time on our calendar, regular course with referrals to the building inspector and the assessor's office, please.
Can I also recommend the Planning Board, please?
Pardon me?
Planning Board as well, please.
Planning Board as well.
Thank you.
Okay, and we're going to establish a public hearing on October 24th, 2022 at 6:50 p.m. And we're going to take a vote on that now. All those in favor of establishing the public hearing for October 24th, 2022 at 6:50 p.m. signify in usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, this has been given regular course and that public hearing has been established. Moving on to 10-23.
10-23, Elizabeth Wood, Planning Director, on behalf of the Planning Board, request to amend the zoning ordinance pertaining to lot width requirement for lots in the rural residential zone.
And 10-23 is also referred to the Chairman of Legal Affairs.
Once again, first time on the calendar, Mr. President. I will ask for regular course with referrals to the building inspector, the assessor's office, and the planning board.
Okay, and we're going to establish a public hearing on October 24, 2022 at 6:51 PM. So all those in favor of establishing that public hearing signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, this public hearing has been established October 24, 2022 at 6:51 PM, given regular course with a referral to building inspector, assessor, and planning board. Yeah, we'll do that. And now we have, we're moving on to matters before the city council. And Mr. Gerard has been very, very patiently waiting to make sure that we are going to confirm him or not. But I will turn this over to the chairwoman of Ways and Means, and we'll get this matter taken care of now.
Thank you, Mr. President. This evening, we had an interview with Ronald Gerard for the appointment to the Communication Unit of the Office of Emergency Management. He came with a stellar review from Arthur of the Office of Emergency Management. I don't think there's anybody on this council that doesn't know Mr. Gerard, so I'll do this quickly. It is my position that we grant the appointment of Ronald Gerard to the Office of Emergency Management, and Mr. President, I ask you to poll the members of my committee.
Councilor Arndinger?
Yes, I agree.
And Councilor Deacon?
I agree.
Okay, so that's a unanimous recommendation by your committee, Madam Chairwoman, to confirm the appointment of Ronald Gerard. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, I will do this in a roll call vote, beginning with Councilor Bedanza.
Yay.
Councilor Cormier.
Yay.
Councilor Arndinger.
Yay.
Councilor Angelini.
Yay.
Councilor Brady.
Yay.
Councilor Shalfo Zephyr.
Yay.
Councilor Deacon.
Yay.
Councilor Frida.
Yay.
And I will be recorded as yay by a vote of 9-0. Congratulations, Ron. You are officially appointed.
Now you're even busier.
Thank you. All right, and the first item going in order now, under matters before the City Council, the financial report. Mr. Chimney, ready to report?
I am, Mr. President. We began the fiscal year on July 1st with a balance in the stabilization account of $20,675,366. Since then, we have added interest in the amount of $24,562 for a total of $20,699,929. Appropriations made since July 1st or pending total $1,905,649, leaving a balance of $18,794,280. And that is the financial report.
Okay, any questions or comments on the financial report? Councilor Brady.
Just a very quick question. On the first page on the Munis report, I'm just curious, the telephone line expenses has been exceeded by a couple 100%. Is that for the Lancaster building? I'm assuming it's a new building. And
I have no idea. Could be. If you'd like, I can check with the comptroller.
Oh, yeah.
It's not a huge amount of money, but it flagged itself.
Typically, that happens when they're planning on transferring money into the account, and given the size of the money, I'm sure that's probably the case, but I can get an answer for you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions on the financial report? Okay, seeing none, we will move right into items under finance, beginning with C-14. Mr. Chimney, ready to report?
Yes, C-14, J.J. Mazzarella, Mayor, request an appropriation of $10,000 be made to the Northwest School Library Project account. Same amount to be transferred from the stabilization fund. This was to leverage some grant money for work done in the library at the Northwest School. I believe I have a letter on this, if you'll bear with me just a second. I'm going to read the letter from our grant administrator dated September 12th, 2022, to the council. Dear members of the City Council, I'm writing to provide additional information on C-14, a request by Mayor Mazzarella to appropriate $10,000 for a match to grant for the Northwest Library. The city has applied for and received a Green Communities grant in the amount of $64,930 for the installation of high-performance heating and cooling system at the Northwest Elementary School Library. The heat pump system will provide both heating and cooling and reduce overall gas consumption at the school. The required match for the grant is $10,000. Thank you for your consideration. Sincerely, Wendy R. Weeks, Grant Administrator. So I believe her explanation is pretty straightforward. Sounds like a really good deal for the city to be able to leverage all that money and also save in the long run on gas consumption. It would be my position, Mr. President, to grant C-14. I'd ask you to check with members of my committee.
Okay, Councilor Cormier?
I agree.
Councilor Angelini?
A special hat tip to Ms. Weeks. We are grateful for her efforts, and I would be in agreement and make this unanimous recommendation.
Thank you very much. So there's a unanimous recommendation from the Finance Committee to grant C-14. Is there any discussion? Councilor Frida?
Yeah, just, did we get that copy of that explanation? Did we all get that?
I got it. It was in my packet. I wouldn't.
Yeah, I didn't have it in mine. Yeah, I didn't have it.
Do you want another copy?
Okay, thank you. I mean, I support it. I just wondered if we had it.
I can give you another copy.
Okay. Any other discussion on C-14? Seeing none, all those in favor of granting C-14 signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, C-14 has been granted. Does the chairman have an order?
I do. Order that the sum of $10,000 be appropriated to the Northwest School Library Project account. Same amount to be transferred from the stabilization account. Move for the adoption of the order.
You've heard the request for the adoption of the order. All those in favor of adopting the order signify by saying yay.
Yay.
Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, C-14's order has been adopted. Moving on to C-15.
C-15, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests that an appropriation of $500,000 be made to the street resurfacing expense account, the same amount to be transferred from the stabilization account. This is not as happy a story as C-14. You may recall that we appropriated, I think it was $1 million to cover a number of street resurfacings. We asked for and received a copy of those streets that are being resurfaced. The contract was signed. Unfortunately, when the bids came in, they were a lot higher than the amount of money that was appropriated. However, as you know, axiomatic, you can't sign a municipal contract without a funding source. Because of the timing, the work is going on, the contract was executed. The city used opera money in order to cover the difference between what we appropriated and what the actual cost was. It's the city's intent to restore the ARPA money from stabilization on this particular communication. It would be my position, Mr. President, to grant C-15 based on what the mayor and the comptroller suggest, and I'd ask you to check with members of my committee.
Councilor Cormier?
I agree.
Councilor Angelini?
I'm in agreement as well, Mr. President.
Okay, so you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Finance Committee to grant C-15. Is there any further comment or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of granting C-15 signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, C-15 has been granted. Does the chairman have an order?
I do. Order that the sum of $500,000 be appropriated to the street resurfacing expense account, same amount to be transferred from the stabilization account. Move for the adoption of the order.
You've heard the request for the adoption of the order. All those in favor of adopting the order signify by saying yay.
Yay.
Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, C-15's order has been adopted. Moving on to items under legal affairs, beginning with C-13. Mr. Chairman, are you ready to report?
I am indeed, Mr. President. C-13 is Mayor Dean Mazzarella requests that the City Council adopt the attached ordinance updates. This ordinance update to Chapter 16, Personnel, Section 16-30, elements to revised ordinances reflects, number one, Leominster Fire Department salary and wage adjustments for fiscal year 2022 through fiscal year 2024. Number two, Leominster Police Department salary and wage adjustments for the fiscal year 2022 through fiscal year 2024. Number three, dispatch salary and wage adjustments for fiscal year 2022 through fiscal year 2024. Number four, Department of Public Works salary and wage adjustments for the fiscal year 2022, fiscal year 2024. As you know, Mr. President, we held a public hearing earlier this evening And I would, quite frankly, recommend that we adopt the ordinance update to Chapter 16 Personnel, Sections 16 through 30 of the Leominster Revised Ordinances, and I would ask you to poll members of my committee.
Okay, Councilor Bedanza
I'm in favor.
and Councilor Cormier.
I agree.
Okay, so you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Legal Affairs Committee to grant C-13. Is there any further discussion?
I just want to note for the record that the council president was abstaining from item 1.
That is correct. I will be abstaining. I do have an immediate family member on the fire department, but I will be voting on all of the others. Thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of granting C-13, please signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0 with the abstention of myself from item 1, C-13 has been granted. Moving on to 5-23, Mr. Chairman, are you ready to report?
I am indeed, Mr. President. 5-23, David Cormier, Ward 3 Counselor, and Pauline Cormier, Ward 2 Counselor. Request to amend Chapter 13, Section 13 through 29 of the revised ordinances entitled Handicap Parking Spaces and add the following. 2 reserved spaces on Summer Street, closest to the entrance to Carter Park, opposite 60 Summer Street. Once again, we had a public hearing earlier this evening, and I think we had a wonderful discussion with input from the public, and we're going to ask for further time and keep this, the public hearing open. And I would ask you to poll members of my committee.
Sure, Councilor Bedanza
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm in favor of further time.
and Councilor Cormier.
I agree.
Okay, you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Legal Affairs Committee to give 5-23 further time. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of giving 5-23 further time signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, 5-23 has indeed been given further time. Moving on to 6-23, Mr. Chairman, are you ready to report?
I am, Mr. President. 6-23, Elizabeth Wood, Planning Director, on behalf of the Planning Board, requests to amend the zoning ordinance pertaining to the parking of unregistered vehicles. See attached letter. Anyway, this is first, actually, we have I apologize. We have a public hearing scheduled for Tuesday, October 11th at 6:50 p.m. So I would, at this time, merely ask for further time.
Okay, and Councilor Bedanza?
Yes.
And Councilor Cormier?
I agree.
Unanimous recommendation that we will give this further time. Is there any further comment or discussion on 6-23? Seeing none, all those in favor of giving 6-23 further time signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, 6-23 has indeed been given further time. We have already dealt with the items under Ways and Means. I'm sorry? Sorry. Madam Chairwoman of Ways and Means, we officially need to address Shen Bergeron, so I'll ask if you're ready to report. I believe we're just going to set up another interview, give it further time, but I'll turn that
We
over
didn't do that? Oh, we did.
during the meeting, yeah.
Mr. President, I would request that we continue the interview and schedule it for October 11th at 6:40 p.m.
6:40, okay, and give this item further time.
Yes.
Councilor Odinger, are you in agreement?
I agree.
Councilor Deacon?
I agree.
Okay, this item for Shen Bergeron to the emergency operations is, the request has been for further time. Is there any further comment or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, this appointment will be given further time. Are there any items under new business? Any items under old business? Any items under the community calendar? Councilor Bedanza.
Just a few local heritage items. Today is the 248th anniversary of Johnny Appleseed, coming up on the 250th pretty soon, 2024. Interest in our community's heritage and history remains very strong. I had the pleasure today of hosting a French television production company who came to interview me for a program that's aired in Europe called ARTE, International Au Voyage, which is broadcast in both France and Germany. They were here to talk about Joseph Palmer, the man who was persecuted for wearing a beard. So all the way from Europe, we've attracted interest. Also, if you're following along, we have, as you know, an amazing local access TV station, and I've collaborated with them on a local history project. In fact, one episode 5 is airing as we speak on Channel 34 Verizon, Channel 8 Comcast. It also airs tomorrow at 4 o'clock, which deals with the era of the 1820s. So just some things that are happening in our local history, and we continue to attract a lot of attention.
Thank you. Thank you very much for keeping our history very much alive. I will ask, did they make you speak French or German, or is your just going to appear as a caption at the bottom of the screen?
No, they are going to have somebody professionally translate my words. Me speaking French, no, that wasn't going to happen.
Because I don't think they'll...
Or German.
I don't think they'll understand your Boston accent in France.
They actually thinking about coming back to do Francis Drake as well.
Nice.
So they may be interested in that one.
Good. Congratulations. That's good stuff. Anything else under the community calendar? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Councilor Shalfo-Zephyr was very quick to be first, and Councilor Arnger was a very near second, very close second. All those in favor of adjournment signify in usual manner. Those opposed by a vote of 9-0, we are adjourned.
The Leominster City Council meeting is funded in part by DeCarolis Insurance Agency at www.decarolisinsuranceagency.com and by Avidia Bank at www.avidiabank.com.